AI Game Changers podcast with Luke Whibbs.
I know intros for you are not necessarily needed right now, but I think, not everyone knows Alexey Grigorev, right? So maybe we can do an intro and just give some people some information about who you are, what you do, both from a job perspective, but then also from a community standpoint as well. So yeah, man, who is Alexey?
So Alexey is a principal data scientist who works at the Alexey Group. Alexey he lives in Berlin. Should I talk about myself? So I live in Berlin with my wife and son. So we live in Berlin. So I work at the Alexey Group. I work as a principal data scientist at the Alexey Group. So what I do at work, I've been with Alexey for almost 4 years. So I started as a senior data scientist, and then now I am a principal data scientist. What I do as a principal data scientist is a lot of coordinating work. So I see what different teams are doing, and then I want to make sure we are not doing the same work twice, and that there is people share knowledge. We stick to the same standards, and usually I look after the model deployment part or model, let's say, machine learning productionizing part. If somebody needs help with this, they come to me, to the team I lead, and we help them with getting this done. And usually we don't just do it, we show how to do this. We teach how to do this. We teach other data scientists how to do this. And then next time they can do it themselves. So they don't come to us anymore unless they have like a new problem they don't know yet how to solve. And then we work together on solving this. So that's what I do at work. And maybe you mentioned the other part, which is the community. So outside of working hours, I also spend some time on the community, which you might have heard of. It's called DataTalks.Club. And this is the community for all people who love data scientists, data engineers, machine learning engineers, also data analysts, even though we don't have a lot of data analysts in the community, to be honest. But originally, when this community came into existence, it was for all data people. So data analysts, I guess we don't have a lot of content for them. And when it comes to content, usually we have like webinars, workshops, podcast interviews, courses, articles, Slack community, obviously, too. I don't know. I'm probably missing something. But that's roughly it.
I think you're... I don't want you to play down DataTalks.Club too much, man. I'd say it's probably one of the most prominent data communities in the whole of Germany now. Would you be fair to say? Would that be fair to say?
Well, no, of course not. Why Germany? Really? World.
Yeah, but you started it in Germany, right?
I started in Germany, but yeah, it was never the intention to restrict ourselves to Germany, but more like to have a global community with people from everywhere. From the United States of America, from Germany, from Japan, from Australia, from Africa, from North Africa, from South Africa, like from anywhere. So everyone is welcome. And because I happen to live in Germany and I have a lot of, let's say, network in Germany, then, there are a lot of people from Germany too. But I think actually when it comes to statistics, the first country in the stats is the United States of America. That's the most...
No way.
Yeah, that's the first one. Then India. Then what was the third one? Probably Germany. And then I think UK, Russia, and Nigeria. I think these are the top countries.
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea, dude. I mean, it seems like everyone in Germany knows you because whenever I speak to other guests or people ask me for other content for podcasts and stuff like that, I always say, "Oh, do you know DataTalks.Club?" And they're like, "Yeah, of course, yeah." So, yeah, absolutely, man. How does it feel being back on this side of the fence? Because you're probably quite used to interviewing people now, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know how I feel about this. Like in the same way as usual. I don't have any strong feelings about that.
Cool, man. All right. Well, look, I think the reason why I wanted to get you onto the podcast today is because obviously I spoke to you, I think it was about 2 years ago
Mhm.
when you first come onto my podcast. And um, I mean, I think you just released the book at that time. And I think Data
Yes.
Talks Club was very much in the early stages, right?
I'm not sure it actually existed back then.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't even think we had the logo on the artwork back then. So I'm not even too sure if it existed. So, but seeing what you've done with Data Talks Club over the past 2 years and seeing the amount of amazing work that you've done in the community, and obviously you're super modest about all of this, right? But I wanted to really try and emphasize that as much as I could and highlight the incredible work that you're doing because it's amazing. And I think watching you balance being a principal data scientist at one of the top tech companies in Germany, plus manage a huge, massive a massive following now within Data Talks Club. I mean, like one of the questions I've got is how on earth do you have the time to do this? But maybe for the people who don't know Data Talks Club, maybe let's go back to the reason why you started this community and what the trigger was for you to kick this community off. So
It
yeah,
was
how did Data
a
Talks
few
Club
a few
start for you,
things.
and why did it start?
So first of all, I was doing a bit of career consultation. So I was um, talking to people who would have some career-related questions like, okay, I'm a project manager. How do I get into data science? Or I am a junior. I want to get promoted. How do I do this? Or I just graduated from my PhD program. How do I get my first job? So I talked to like, I don't know, 20 people like that. And then I wanted them to be in the same place to talk about these things. So it's not just, one-to-one conversation, but also these people who I talk to, they could talk to each other too. Also, I was getting a lot of questions on LinkedIn, and it was a bit difficult to answer everyone. So I was pretty active on LinkedIn back then. So here, right now, I'm posting mostly about, hey, we have this course, we have this other thing, but there I posted different kind of content, which people had questions about, so they would write me. And then I thought it would be a nice idea to also get these people and redirect them to the community where instead of having one-to-one conversation between me and them, right, they could just talk about these topics to each other. And one day I just woke up, I opened GoDaddy, which is a website I use for buying domains. And then I bought DataTalks.Club. So the name DataTalks is actually, so I was a part of other communities. One of them was Java Talks. Java is a programming language. And I really loved the name Java Talks. And I thought, well, should be something similar. And then, actually, it was in 2015 where I already liked the name and I tried to create a forum, like online forum, like in the old days when people didn't use Slack. So it was Data Talks, but online forums weren't like a thing. So this thing in 2015 didn't get any traction. But the name kind of stuck with me. So when I was browsing through domains, I thought, okay, DataTalks Club. Yeah, it was available. So I just tried DataTalks, and it was like DataTalks Community, DataTalks Club, DataTalks something else. So yeah, I thought DataTalks Club sounds like a good name. And then I created a landing page in MailChimp, which took me like, I don't know, less than 5 minutes to set up. And that was pretty much it. So this is how it started. And then when people wrote me on LinkedIn, I would redirect them to the community saying, hey, like, I would love to answer this question, but can we please do it in Slack so others can also see this? And yeah, somehow people started joining this community. And I tried to get to know everyone. These days it's not possible, but then back then I would ask them, hey, who are you? Why are you joining this community? So I wanted to learn about everyone. And yeah, and then at some point, a friend of mine asked if I know a place where he can give a talk. And I thought, I actually know, right? Come and give a talk with us. And then this is how we did the first talk. And then I actually was talking to you too. And then I thought, it would be very nice to have Luke on the podcast, on the interview, and ask him about hiring data scientists. And then this is like, I think you were fourth fourth episode, right? So I think like you were my second guest, but it was the first episode, I think. So yeah, this is how it started. So first my friend approached me, and then I thought it would be cool to have these kind of conversations without slides, just two talking heads talking about a particular topic. And then there is also audience, people from the community who also have some questions, who can just ask their questions, and then we would answer these questions during the interview. So that this is how it started, and then since then, it's been happening since then. So the first event was in November, so it will be 2 years this November, and then the first interview, I think it was in December. So yeah.
So you never set out to grow the community that you've got right now then? It was more of a,
was not in the
I get
plan.
tons of messages.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So has your mindset changed over these last 2 years? Like, how do you think about DataTalks.Club now?
Yeah, it did change. I don't know if for the good or not. The idea now is to have a global data community for everyone who wants to talk about data. But then probably we need to rethink the positioning a little bit, right? Because it mostly attracts people who are interested in the engineering aspects of data engineering, machine learning engineering, MLOps, data science, which I consider more engineering too, and less, for example, about analytics. But yeah, it's still, I think still the idea is it's for everyone in the data world who wants to talk about the data. And the way I think about this is if somebody wants to get started with data in the data world, then the first thing they do is they join the DataTalks community. So somebody like, let's say I want to start to get in to be a data scientist. And then I ask my friend for advice. What should I do? And then the friend would tell me, the first thing you need to do is register there. So that was the ambition, the vision I had. So it's a bit more ambitious than at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, how are you even finding the time to manage both of these things right now? Like, I don't really know how much time per week running a community like DataTalks.Club takes you, but I'd imagine it's a fair bit, especially if you're trying to be interactive and you've got multiple channels to run and you need your content edited. And like, how do you manage that? Like, where are you actually getting this time? Unless you're some kind of alien who doesn't sleep. And
I do sleep.
I mean, maybe it could be that, but
I do have to sleep. That's the annoying part, right? So if there was a way not to sleep, and if I don't sleep, I can't function properly. But probably we all humans can't, right?
Yeah.
So it depends. So sometimes I spend 10 hours per week on this. Sometimes it's 50. It really depends. And I have a secret. There is a community manager who is running this thing behind the scenes. Maybe you don't see him, but he's there. His name is Francis. So he's taking care of organizing all the events we have. Like, he's reaching out to guests. He's helping me prepare questions. He's managing events, basically running everything, editing videos a little bit too. And so when I was doing this alone, it was very difficult. So I took a bit of time off of my work. It was a 2 months long sabbatical to figure this out. Like, I realized that I cannot do everything myself, right? So how can I delegate all of that to somebody else, right? So back then it was January, so DataTalks.Club was already bringing some money, right? So there was a sponsor, and we ran the sponsored workshop together. So I already had a bunch of money, and I thought, okay, now it's time to actually figure out how this can grow, because I cannot do this myself, right? And then I took this 2 months off to figure this out. I hired a community manager, and then we spent these 2 months figuring out how, like, all the processes, like how exactly to do this. And now he is running the whole thing. Well, I do need to appear on the videos, right? But yeah, at the end, it's mostly him doing all the work. That's the secret that nobody knows.
Right. Until now.
Yeah.
So do you eventually want to kind of like detach yourself from the group then? Because it sounds like you don't really, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, and maybe I'm hearing this completely different, but do you not like being the face of Data Talks Club?
I do, and I prefer to keep it this way. I mean, sometimes I wish some things could be done without me. For example, I think in some cases, if I don't appear, then these things don't get a lot of traction or engagement. I wish it wasn't the case. Like, I don't want to be there all the time for every single thing that is happening in the community. And I don't yet know how to make this happen. Like, to somebody, I don't know how to explain this, but we recently had an, I think called Project of the Week, where we build projects together, right? And because I was very busy preparing for the course we have, I couldn't participate in that. And I compared two, like we ran two, how to say, we did it 2 times, this project of the week. In one, I took part, in another, I didn't. And the one where I took part, it was a lot more engagement from people. So the probably participants need some sort of example, somebody who is doing it with them to see and do this. And if they don't see this, then it's less active. I'm still figuring out how to do this, but yeah, I guess for some time, for some events, I'll have to be the face. And for some, I just, like, I cannot imagine doing, like, if somebody else would be doing interviews. I really like doing the interviews. For example, today we will have an interview with one of our past students. So Alvaro, he was doing our course, but then he graduated, he found a job, and then I will be interviewing him today to know how it happened to him, right? Like how exactly he managed to graduate from this course and what exactly did he do to land a job. And like, this is so cool. I don't want to kind of give this up, right?
Yeah. I think at least, I mean, I know what you're saying. Well, I understand where you're coming from on you don't want to be, you want the community to be valuable in itself rather than be linked to one, like rather than it be about one person.
Yeah.
You want the community to kind of feed itself, right? But I guess at least that's validation for you that the work that you're putting into this is valued by the community. So in a roundabout way, I think that it's still a positive thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good thing, man.
Probably, yes.
But I guess like this is obviously probably, well, I would imagine it's opened up a ton of doors for you, right?
Yes, it did. Like, for example, well, right now I kind of need to do a lot of sales. So for the community to be profitable, and profitable, I mean, at least be able to break even, because I need to spend a lot of my own money on the community. So at least not to be in the negative. So I need to do a lot of sales, right? To get people to sponsor.
What do you mean by sales?
Get people to sponsor us, right?
Right.
So get not people, but companies to support us, right? And this in traditional world is called sales, right? I guess recruiting is also sales in a way, right?
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. Right. So maybe many people don't think of recruiting as sales, right? But it is sales, right? So you need to get a client, like a customer, a company, right? And then you need to also convince the person, the candidate, to join the company, right? And then it's
recruitment is absolutely 100% sales.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if anyone thinks it's anything different, is probably not that good at recruitment. Because I think we've got two products in our world, right? We've got the clients that we work with, which is a product that we sell to candidates, and we've got candidates that I try and not frame it like this because it makes it sound very transactional and very just not very nice. But with the candidates, they are essentially the product that we work with, right? And specialist recruiters have specialist products and whatever. But the difference is our products have their own thoughts and feelings and whatever. So I actually think it's the most difficult sale to do on the planet. But anyway, sorry, man, for jumping in there. But sales is...
I can see some parallels, right? So we have sponsors and we have the community, right? And the community needs, like, the content that the sponsor wants to share with the community has to be valuable to the community. Otherwise, the community will not like it, right? And then the sponsor will also not like it because they want to support the community because they have a reason to do this, right? So they want to do it not just because they are so good people and they want just to give away money, right? Because they want to also have something in return. And then for me, as somebody who is running this community, I need to make sure that there is much, right? So it's not like every sponsor who comes to me to do something will get it, because sometimes I see that it's clearly not relevant for the community. And yeah, I guess it's a bit similar to what you described, right? So you have companies, you have candidates, and then you need to make sure that there is some chemistry between them.
What? So you've had people reach out to you that want to sponsor, but you've declined those sponsors because they're not. They don't work in parallel to what you're trying to achieve with the community. Can you give me any examples? Or
I don't want to point fingers, but for one of the companies reached out saying, "Hey, we have this amazing new feature in our product," and I just knew that it will not get any engagement from the community because the community might not know yet about this company, and those who know, they might not necessarily be interested in this particular thing. And then I thought, okay, yeah. Just it's best that we don't run this kind of campaign. And then I think maybe I used my Eastern European communication style. So they didn't come back for other campaigns.
right,
That's something I need to work on. So this sometimes I think is hurting me rather than helping.
well, depends which way you look at it, I guess. But yeah, do you know, man? Like, and since because I took a break from recording the podcast for like a year because after coronavirus kind of dipped off, work just exploded from a recruitment standpoint, and it was the craziest. 2021 was absolutely insane. Now I've got my client base and I'm like set, and I work with a couple of customers and then that's it. And that's kind of what I do. So I've got a lot more kind of like free time. And like you, I outsource a lot of the stuff now. So I work with Rachel, who manages all the sort of stuff, and I don't do everything. But yeah, do you know what used to piss? And I'm small time, right? But do you know what used to really piss me off is when people would message me and be like, "I'd love to be a guest on your podcast." Like, wicked, let's talk about that. And they'd be like, "Yeah, we need to drive some sales to the business." I'm like, that's just not what it's about. That's really not what it's about. So yeah, I'd always decline guests like that as well, because, you know, for me, I want to introduce stories to people where they can learn and they can get value from it and they can be inspired by the community around them, right? So like with your story, I think what you do for the community is absolutely inspirational. And if there are any juniors, which a lot of the guests, like the statistics of my episodes, they pretty much make that up. So I'd say like 25 to 35, so professional to like entry level data ML people, predominantly in Germany. I want them to hear about your community, right? Because it is super, super valuable to them. So, so yeah, anyway, I feel like we're going massively off topic now, but
well, speaking of, so since you mentioned that you have a lot of listeners from Germany, maybe I can do a shameless plug, because we sometimes have lunches every month. Usually it's monthly lunches where we actually meet in real life, not in online, and eat real food together. So
what is this real life thing that you speak of?
Lunches? Just community lunches.
But in person, yeah?
In person, yeah, imagine. In Berlin. So if you're in Berlin, we have a channel called Meetings Germany. So check it out. And it's actually about time we had our September lunch. So we should probably do it for the next week.
Cool, man. I was going to say, when is the next one?
Yeah.
Because we'll link that in.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, was there like, I don't know how to frame this question, but were there any moments of doubt for you where you thought, I'm going to bin this? Because it was either taking too much time for not enough impact, or were there any moments where you thought, oh shit, I'm just too busy at work and this is just insane? Because I was looking at your GitHub statistics the other day, and for the first like year, it went from 0 to maybe 200, 300, I guess. And then it took off, right? It absolutely exploded. So was there any time in that first year where you were like, I'd
it's
love
still
to keep
happening,
doing this,
pretty much not every day, but quite often. Like every now and then I think, okay, why I'm doing this? Should I keep doing this? Like, does anyone actually care about this? Like, what would happen? Who would notice if I stop doing this? But then I receive a message thanking me for something, and then I think, okay, like maybe I'll stick around for a bit longer.
Yeah, but that was going to be my follow-up. Like, why do you keep going?
Yeah, that's the reason. So, like, it's really encouraging to see when people write me thanking for something like they found a job, or they're just thankful for the information we shared in courses or in events or anywhere. And then, yeah, then it's a very nice feeling to have. So that's what keeps me going.
I didn't know Eastern Europeans have emotions, man.
Yeah, we don't do this in front of other people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm from the UK, and obviously I'm a super softie, so I'll probably cry after this podcast, to be honest. So I guess like the last question I've got on the group, really, before we kind of move on, because I do want to speak to you about, I do want to ask you, after all of this, the amount of podcasts you've done and the content that you've done, and I mean, we could probably talk about this for hours, right? And we need to bucket it up somehow. But like, what have been your big learnings? Because you talk about, obviously, from a technical perspective, I guess you've probably got better at yourself as an engineer and a scientist and, you know, an expert, because just learning by osmosis, you're going to naturally pick stuff up, right? But I mean, maybe a good question to ask is, what was the most surprising thing you've learned from launching the Data Tools Club that you didn't think you would learn?
I mean, professionally, I don't know, but I didn't know how much work it is to actually run a community. Like, if I knew, had I known this, I'm not sure I would have started it. Because, this, how do you say, ignorance is bliss, or
It's bliss.
is bliss? Yeah.
Mm.
So maybe that was like a good description of what happened. So now, knowing how much effort it is to actually keep this thing running, I would think twice. Or it's like with writing a book. So before agreeing to write a book, I thought, okay, it's like it would just take half a year. I will maybe spend 1 hour each day writing the book, and then it will be over, and then I'll get a lot of money. And you know what happened? I spent 2 years, and I'm not getting any money from this. So yeah, had I known this, I don't think I would have written a book.
Yeah, 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 man. It's as I say, I think like just looking at what you've got now, so 10K followers on LinkedIn, 17K followers on YouTube, 4K stars. I mean, how many people have you got in your Slack now?
22,000, I think.
No, why? Yeah. So, how much time do you spend managing those? Because, as I say, do you put it all out to your community manager now, and you kind of tip in
No,
when that when you
actually,
need to?
he is not really managing, how to say, interactions on Slack. He's helping with some things, like where we run some things like book of the week, where we invite authors and to ask them about their books. So he's helping to run that. But apart from that, most of the interactions, I still do with like all the moderation. So probably I should also delegate that eventually. But every time I wake up, I check general to see if there is spam. And quite often there is. So I have to delete it. Then I have to write the people who did this, hey, please read our guidelines. It's not cool to just join the community without even saying hi and pitch your stuff. So please check the rules. And then, yeah, that's what I still do. And yeah, probably some of these things can be delegated, but some of the interactions, some of the questions I receive, I don't think it's even a good idea to delegate it. Of course, when it's a question that others will benefit from, I ask them, hey, can you please post this in one of the public channels? Then others will also see that and answer. But yeah, still there is a lot of stuff that I need to do, and I don't mind, to be honest.
What are the popular topics then? I know obviously there's a huge part about, you know, as you say, the engineering part and productionization and MLOps and all those buzzwords. But like outside of the obvious professional technical advancement, what do you see as being the main reason or one of the main reasons why people come to the community?
Probably career questions. Like, okay, I am X, how do I become, I don't know, data scientist, data engineer, something. And then, okay, I have a CV, but I'm not getting any responses. What can I improve? That's also a common theme. Things along these lines, or usually like career-related stuff. I'm not sure whether I should be doing data science or data engineering. How can I decide? And things like that.
And do you feel like there's a difference now from the first time we spoke? So I remember when we first spoke, I think a lot of the conversation was about how to stand out as a data scientist, right? Because there's a lot of people with just like kind of the classical thing that you would see on a data science CV, right? And standing out in a wave of everyone who's done a Coursera course in Python or a Udacity course in whatever is actually quite difficult. And transitioning into data science from a position of not having experience is even tougher, right? So what do you advise people to do now? Like, what's your takeaways from the things that you've learned from the other people?
I still suggest people to check out our conversation that we had with you, because I think
Really?
it's still valid. Like, even though it's been 2 years or less than 2 years, but it still was a long time. It's still valuable. And the things you suggested, as far as I remember, was to do research and don't do spray and pray. And I think these things are still valid, right? Even after 2 years. I think that I would still suggest you go check the transcription, because we have the transcription. So I know some people don't like listening for 1 hour, but we do have a transcription, so you can just go through this and check it out. So yeah, do research about the company. Be a bit selective where you send your CV, and do projects. So build a portfolio of projects. So show that you're interested in building things, and the things you build are relevant for the company. So maybe when you do research about the company, think of what kind of technologies they use, what kind of things you work on, and then try to make your projects similar to what they are doing. And I think I'm just summarizing what you told us back then in the interview.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I still get people reach out to me about that now.
Oh, cool.
And it's actually really nice, because I think, oh shit, I thought that would have, like, once you get down onto like a second page of, viewings and stuff on YouTube, you probably never get seen, right? But yeah, once in a while, after we recorded it, I had a lot of people reach out to me and was like, thank you so much for your like feedback on that and stuff. But once in a blue moon, I get someone still reach out to me.
Maybe because I recommend them to check the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I mean, do you know what? I've not watched it myself because I'm terrified of...
you can also read it, so that's why we have transcription, right? You can just...
I wouldn't... Do you know what? I wouldn't even read it, man, because I'd be terrified about what I'm saying.
I edited it, so don't worry.
Good. I'd love to do a round 2, though, man, on the like what's changed, because I think I've been doing a lot more within kind of computer vision, maybe over the last 18 months, and like embedded ML and stuff like that. But I do think that the market's changing. I think there's going to be a distinct shift soon. I've already started seeing it now. Like over the past 18 months, it was people were just throwing money at anyone with data science or ML on their profile. And there were some really elevated, inflated salaries banding around. I think that's going to change now. I think the process of getting jobs is still going to be the same, and I'm always inch wide, mile deep. But yeah, as I say, I think there's going to be I think it'll be harder to get jobs within the next kind of like 18 months, obviously because of what's happening economically as well. But yeah, as I say, I still think those principles stand.
Yeah, I can. I have this. I don't know if there is a term for that in English. Professional deformation. Do you have it? Like when you have been doing something for quite a while, that it affects how you think. And for me now, an example of that was you were talking about this thing, and I was already imagining how the topic for this interview, what would be the topic for this interview, and what are the questions I will ask you. And the topic was like finding a job in recession or something like this. And then
yeah.
Yeah, we should
Yeah, we
totally
could
do
do that.
this.
Yeah. Do you know, I've actually not actually recruited too much through recessions. I mean, obviously we've done it through the pandemic and
Hmm.
fuck, that was hard.
Yeah, that was,
But
I guess, a different story, right? Because it actually at the end it blew up, right? In a good way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But to be honest, so like there's a lot of fear porn on LinkedIn right now,
Hmm.
right? And about layoffs and, people getting sacked from all these huge, like overvalued companies that are just chopping 10-20% of their organization, right? Do you know how many companies have made layoffs in Germany?
Yeah, that's I don't know how many.
Well, I looked 2 weeks ago and there was 22 companies.
22. Because in Germany it's insanely difficult to actually do this.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
have
I
probably
mean,
to, they cannot just fire a person. That they have to
no.
come with an agreement, right?
Mm,
It's not just, it
yeah,
cannot be one-sided.
no. I think legally the employment contracts in Germany really do benefit the employee. Um, they're really quite one-sided on the fact you can't just sack people. But I mean, if you look at most of the companies that have made redundancies in Germany, they've all got some kind of US. They're either a US company with a German arm, or I'd say they're probably predominantly that, to be honest.
Hmm.
So yeah. But anyway, man, yeah, we'll do a rain check on that for sure. But I guess the two things that I wanted to kind of end on is just one, I just want people to know where to go and what to do on the community. But then also the second thing is, oh, sorry, no, it's three things. So that number two, what initiatives have you actually got coming up? I know you covered this in another podcast and stuff, but it would be good just to see, right, what can we do with you? Is it just join a community? I know we've got the ML Zoom camp. It'd be good to get a pitch on that, so you can plug that as much as you want, dude. And then lastly, there's just a question about the future, but yeah, those two things are important, I think.
Okay, so in which order? Because I think I forgot what was the first one.
First one is like in terms of the community, what's the best way for people to kind of get stuck into that,
Hmm.
and what are the things people can actually do? Because you've got your YouTube channel, you've got Slack.
Hmm.
What else is there?
Yeah, I think Slack is the best place to start. Slack and our website. So website gives a good overview of what we have. It doesn't mention courses because I just don't have time to, change it. But we do have courses, and then that's one of the reasons many people join too. So yeah, if you are interested in learning machine learning, and here's the plug, right? So we are actually running a free course about machine learning engineering right now. It's week 3, I think, almost over, but you can join us at any time. So you will not be able to submit the homework that was already over deadline, but you can still work on the course and still get a certificate at the end. So it's still, you can still join it. So many people join the community because of the course, and we have a channel where you can get support. And then we have a bunch of other things. So for example, I mentioned Book of the Week, and this is a place where we invite book authors, and everyone from the community in Slack can ask them any question they want. And then at the end, the authors select the answers they like most, and then they give away books, 5 books at the end. So that's one of the things. But honestly, we have so many things that I even start to think, what should I cover next? So then we have obviously events. So we have webinars. Webinar is like your usual talk where first there is a presentation about some technical topic usually. And then after this presentation, there is a section with Q&A. So like usual, this is quite a usual format you have seen in many meetups, conferences. So we have that. Then we also have workshops, and the workshop is more hands-on. So the instructor is coding, and you can follow along them, also code something, code or do something, build together, right? So that's a workshop that we have once per month usually. Then we also have live interviews, which like this is what you took part in, like a podcast. So it's just 2 talking heads talking about something, and then also people can join in and ask questions, and then we release it as a podcast. What else? We have a thing called Open Source Spotlight. Open Source Spotlight is a place where we invite open source authors to demo their tools. I don't know. For example, recently we had Kevin from Fuke. Fuke is a tool for, so they make it easy to work with Pandas, with Spark, with things like this. It's a data engineering tool, and he was demoing this tool. So we invite open source authors to demo their tools, and then we publish this on our YouTube channel. What else? I think I must have forgotten something. Project of the week we run sometimes. So project of the week is just you get a bunch of instructions of what to do, but you don't have like a video of somebody telling you what exactly to do in which way. So you have to figure this out, and at the end you have a project that you can include in your portfolio. So it's more difficult because you're kind of more independent there. We've done 2 iterations. We will run a third one soon about recommender systems. So check this out. And probably as a part of the course, we will also have a Kaggle competition where we probably will have AWS credits as prizes, because I got a bunch of free credits from AWS, which I'm still thinking how to use them exactly. So that could be the prize if you win in this competition. I'm tired of talking. I know. I'm really surprised we have so many things. I now imagine that how difficult it could be for somebody who is joining the community to, it's just too much stuff.
Where do you start?
Yeah, where to start exactly. So
Maybe
start
you
with
should
the
define
welcome
some
channel.
kind of like workflow that people could just go step by step.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea. So
have you not got anything like that right now?
Yeah, I checked a few tools, but they cost like 900 per month.
What?
Yeah.
No, just make a PDF.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's
Surely.
smart, right?
Just make a PDF and say start
Or
here.
maybe just a video, right? So with everything I just told you, but could be I just start a Loom thing and then record.
I was going to say, do you use Loom?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've suggested that.
You did suggest me that, and I loved it. It's like one of the best tools. It's so nice.
So what we can probably say is that I'm actually a co-creator of DataTalks.Club.
In a way, yeah. So you did take part at the beginning, which shaped the way community looks like, but it's true.
No, don't be silly. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that would probably be a good idea, man. But I mean, if anyone's listening right now and they do want to get involved, obviously just replay that thing, that part that Alexey just went through, and then rock and roll into the Slack group. So
rock and roll into the Slack group. Yes, this is what I should say. Tell to people.
You can, if you steal that, I am definitely a co-creator of DataTalks.Club. I guess is it all free as well? Do you do any? Is there any charges right now, or is it all absolutely?
It's all free. Yeah.
Really? Is that ever going to change, or?
I want to launch a paid course and see how it goes, because the amount of effort I put in courses is just insane. I don't think it's in the long run maintainable. From all perspectives. And I want to see if this thing can actually be profitable. Right? So I want to run a paid course and then see how the community will react to this, because I think the community is used to free stuff. So I will see how it goes, but everything we created so far will remain free forever.
Have you heard of a company called a Cloud Guru?
I might have heard about them. So they are doing some trainings courses, right?
They effectively built a platform where people could be trained by, it was all free. They could be trained, but maybe that's a lie, and maybe it's paid for. But they could sign up for training to pass certifications with AWS or GCP or Azure.
Yeah,
or
I think we used them.
And
I'm not sure, or used to use.
They pretty sure. I can't remember how long it was, but it'd be a whatever type course thing. They sold. I can't remember who bought them, but they sold for $6 billion.
Oh, that's maybe I should try. I like the number.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a guy who, Ryan Kroonenberg, his name was, and strangely enough, years and years and years and years ago, he used to do Microsoft, like Azure, and it was like a cloud engineer basically. And I used to work at a company. Pretty sure they placed him. He was like an engineer that we placed. So like he's gone from just earning like 60, 70K a year 10 years ago to being a billionaire pretty much overnight. And it was him and his brother that owned the company.
That's cool.
And yeah, they scaled it to like 600 people. I think it was massive. But it became like the number one training platform for cloud certification. And they were going to build a recruitment arm off of it. It was insane. But yeah, long story short, you should do that.
Yeah, maybe. That's pretty ambitious, but it's good aspiration, right?
Yeah, man. But I guess that just the final question then, Alexey. Like, what do you actually see the future like for you, the community? Like, where are you going to take it now, and what's your aspirations?
Yeah, just I want to keep going. Things that work, I want them to keep on working. Some of the initiatives we have, maybe we will freeze them for now, so because they are getting less and less traction. Some of them there will be new stuff. So we will see how to keep everyone entertained and how to keep it useful for you. And if anyone of you has any suggestions or feedback or anything, please reach out.
Awesome, man. Well, look, as always, Alexey, it's a pleasure to talk to you, man. So thank you so much for your time, dude. And yeah, as Alexey says, if anyone's interested, you know what to do.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.